Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon on a Friday afternoon. Thank you for being here. And apologies that we're a bit late, but we had Friday challenges, but these are all overcome. And now I hope you're all in a relaxed mood and you are going to enjoy the afternoon with us. I'm Francie Jansen from Vieren. I'm from the Center of Academic Technologies. And Monwa, the coordinator for the UJenius Club, is also here with me. Of course, thanks Monwa once again for planning this great up-close series. Right, I don't know whether some of you were here in August when we had our session. Were some of you here, our first session? Yes, some of you were here. Thanks, that's great. So welcome once again to you, and to the others, welcome for the first time. So we had our first up-close event in August today, and we also have one in September and in October, not in November. You might be academically occupied then to prepare for the exams. But wonderful having you here. So what are the Up Close series about? We invite professionals and thought leaders to motivate and inspire you as our top students at UJ. So it is also a collaboration opportunity for you to collaborate with your top students from other faculties. I hope you've met somebody new today. So please make use of this opportunity. Then we invite professionals to speak to you as the students, and we want they share their real world insights regarding student success, and that is where you are students at this stage, but also career development, and of course it's already starting to happen here. Who of you are final years? Who of you are final years? Right, quite a few. And the next step would be to transition into the world of work. Right, so we have people from the world of work here today to talk to you and to inspire you. So I just want to say the UJenius Club resides within Academic Development and Support, ADS. And ADS, we have the 3 centers. CAT, the Center for Academic Technologies, where we host the UJenius Club. We've got PsyCAT for the Psychological and Career Services for students and for staff, and then also the Academic Development Center. Learning development, etc. So even you are top students, you want to stay there, you want to fly all the way to the end and out into the world. So please don't hesitate to make appointments if you want to go and see somebody at PsyCAT to help you with career planning, reaching your full potential, or perhaps you can still get some advice on balancing your life because the performance pressure is so high. So remember, we are there to support you. Right, so today we've got 2 speakers, not only one. You are very privileged. So I'm going to introduce both of them now, and then afterwards you can listen to them, and we will also have a Q&A session. And thanks to the library team for the venue and for hosting it, also online. Do we have an online audience today? Right, so also to our online students who are attending, very welcome. And in the Q&A sessions, you are welcome to ask questions and we will address that. Right. So still, the world changes all the time, but I think we can still go with ladies first today. So first of all, our first speaker will be Dr. Maria Ramaahlo. She is the guy there. She sits at the table. You'll see her in full picture soon. But Dr. Ramaahlo is the director of SciCAD, and SciCAD stands for the Center for Psychological Services and Career Development. So she has a very high-profile job and lots of stress, but I've just learned from her, never dress your problems, never speak your problems, and she never does that. She's very passionate about her work. Right, she is also a psychologist registered with the Health Professional Council of South Africa. And the focus of her work here as the director of SciCAD, which you surely need to go and visit if you haven't done so, is to provide comprehensive psychological and disability support services within higher education to ensure the optimal psychosocial support to students. She also serves as an executive committee member for the Higher Education Disability Services Association of South Africa. And Prof. Maria has taken it, Dr. Maria, upon herself to learn South African Sign Language. So all your languages can be read. Right. And then, of course, she writes articles, doing research, peer-reviewed journals, and a book chapter within the field of psychology and disability studies. So thank you very much for your time in advance and for your experience, your journey, your advice that you are going to share with the students. Thank you very much and very welcome. Right, and next to her, we have Mr. Rowan Haai. Very welcome here. Challenged the traffic all the way from Midrand, where he works for PricewaterhouseCoopers. I'm sure you have heard of PwC. He is a senior associate with them. Right. Well, your name walks in front of you. So I'm going to quote you. On LinkedIn, Quasaida Consulting refers to Rowan as a trailblazer, right? We've got trendsetters and trailblazers and influencers today. But okay, to be a pioneer and somebody who really breaks ground and sets paths for others to follow in the field of accounting. Right, Rowan left, I don't know from where, to come to UJ when you were 17. So what is your home province? From Pretoria. Okay, so you went from Pretoria to UJ. We are very happy about that. So he studied accounting here and BCom accounting. And students, now you can further strive towards that. He finished his studies not with 5, not with 10, but with 17 distinctions. Congratulations. Okay, and then he also was an academic performer in honors, and he is currently still with UJ doing his master's. And in his spare time, when not in that high-profile work, he's also lecturing part-time here at UJ. And he has a work-integrated learning assured project, which you could perhaps share a bit on. And you're also on the executive committee of the Internal Auditors Toastmasters Club. People, to be able to speak, to carry yourself over is a valuable skill to have, and he really puts back into doing that. So we must also not, the last thing, we just want to share in your success and not make you feel uncomfortable, and for these youngsters to strive towards it. In 2023, you were also named the Institute of Internal Auditors, South Africa Young Internal Auditor of the Year. So congratulations on all of that. And yeah, you are described as being the embodiment to rise with purpose, to lead with excellence, and to uplift others along the way. So, with this great two speakers here today, over to them, and yeah, enjoy listening to them. So, Maria, over to you. Thank you very much. You're welcome.
Hey, good afternoon. Because I'm used to, communicating in South African Sign Language, I even struggle to project with a mic. So I'm even told I'm soft when I use a mic itself. So good afternoon, colleagues. My name is Maria Ramaahlo. I'm the director of PsycAD, and also a psychologist, or at least I try to be one. And in the profession that I'm in, normally I'm the person, on the other side that asks you, tell me a bit about yourself. Never is it me telling, other people about myself. So this is very hard for me to do. And Mr. Shezi will tell you the difficulty I gave in just agreeing to be able to speak about myself. So I want to greet everyone that's here, both in this space as well as online. And I want to thank you for making the time to listen to our narratives and stories. I also think it's an immense honor and a deep privilege to be able to speak to the UJenius Club. You are the cream of the crop, as we call it, of, UJ. So to be invited to speak about my journey to assist you is a profound, privilege for me, and I'm deeply grateful for this. So in the session today, I think it's important about the journeys that we're going to be celebrating. I first want to just take cognizance of the month that we're currently in, which is Women's Month. And I think it's just, we need to recognize, one, the women that have come before us, but also, the immense loss they've all experienced. And I just want to recognize all the women, noting that it is sort of Women's Month. In that regard, this feels like the mic got louder all of a sudden, but that's fine. Okay. So, with that in mind, I just want to also say that the struggles of the people that have come before us and the paths that they have paved, I think it's important that we always have that and reflect upon it and see how best can it sort of benefit us. In that regard, I want to try and hold their legacies and their narratives in my heart, as well as what I'm going to share today in both my speech as well as, in the networking events that we have. So that being said, in terms of legacy, sure, in terms of my journey to this podium here in this moment, it was not an easy path. It also was not a straight line. In terms of what I thought I would be in terms of my profession is very different to what I do now. I did not want to be a psychologist. Psychology found me. So in terms of where I'm from Joburg South, so I'm on the other side of the Yukskay River. I've schooled in Lenasia, and I'm hoping that will maybe help explain the accent. People like putting others in boxes, so we always have to explain why we may be a bit different. So I'm from Joburg South. I studied at the university down the road. So I'm a Wits alumni. I did my undergrad there, my honors, as well as my master's. Um, for my postgraduate degree for PhD, I decided to do something a bit different. I decided to do it at UP because I was working there at the time. In terms of what fueled my academic journey, I think it was a thirst for knowledge. I loved learning, and I still do appreciate learning. And I think that's also partly why I took up South African Sign Language. It's not because I have members of my family who are deaf. I just really love learning. And in that regard, I wanted to study a career that would always require me to continuously learn and give back. Social justice and activism is also quite important to me in the work that I do and in my personal life with family. So in that regard, you all would know Robert Sobukwe. And in his speech when he was at Fort Hare University, he spoke, and I want to quote him, that education to us is a means to service Africa. And I really want you to sort of just take note of that, in that everything that we do, one, it's for yourself, but also for the others that are around you. And that's why when you're networking, it doesn't just benefit you, but it's for your family, your friends, and those that would come after you as well. So for me, this was my compass in terms of whatever module I did, whatever space I occupied. And I also want to just sort of recognize Prof. Corne in this moment. She taught me a beautiful saying about being in the spaces of most potential. So this is a space of the most potential. I mean, you're here with fellow high performing and achievers. So always ensure that you find yourself, within those sort of spaces. With that being said, in the work that I've done, so once I sort of, my career, I've been fortunate enough that I've always worked for universities. So I used to be an intern here at UJ, and then I then moved to Vaal University of Technology. I worked there for a few years. Then I came back to UJ, worked at PsyCAD as a psychologist, and then I was fortunate enough at a young age to become a manager at the University of Pretoria. And I was appointed as the head of the disability unit. I was there for about, 8 years. Being at UP was a very interesting experience, and I'll share a bit about that just now. And then again, I was fortunate enough to then be appointed as a manager at Northwest University. So that would be your Vanderbijl, Potch, and Mahikeng campuses. And now I'm back at UJ as a director. Being in this role, I take note of the significance of it and the difficulty. The previous two directors that you would know is Prof. Gertie and Prof. Burke. And it took a lot for me to see that what would be different about what I contribute to this role as the director of PsyCAD, noting the legacy of the university we're in, the space that we occupy. So in reflecting across my studying journey as well as my professional career, it was not easy. It's not just issues of racism that you experience, but also colorism. And what you would note, it occupies every single space that you go into. There were moments where, your competence gets questioned before you even speak, simply because one, the color of your skin, and as well as the tone of the color of your skin. So your worthiness is based on shades that I never even chose. And that's something that always comes in front of anything that you do. So then you try even harder to show your competence, your skills, and what you bring to the table. And there's many instances, and I don't want to make this a negative space, but I just want to say that you often feel the weight of these biases that you occupy. So in the field of disability, for instance, we speak about what's called the triple burden. So it would be the triple burden of either your race, your gender, as well as having a disability. So it's always these biases that we have to navigate and the microaggressions, but still you have to rise in that regard. So in those moments of darkness, I think I had to try and find my own light. And in that regard, that's when I leaned a lot on mentors, both informal and formally. So I want to recognize, all of the people who mentored and guided and, gave me the opportunities that led me again to this podium today to be able to share with you all that are here in this space as well as online. So in terms of the bio that, May Francie read out, that's not just my journey, it's every single person that contributed to that. Family, friends, mentors, the very people who are working now at PsyCAD and then allowing me to be here today. So I want to recognize all of them in that moment. So then to pivot back to sort of the UJenius and student success, I think what I'm trying to highlight is that you may encounter many defeats, but you should not be defeated in that regard. It's difficult being a top performer because there's this badge that you constantly have to achieve and outperform yourself, and that crushing weight of that can be a lot. So don't put that much of pressure and burden on yourself to constantly outbeat yourself. And that take advantage of the space and the supportive space that UJ provides. In having worked at many universities, I think I can confidently say that UJ truly does care about students, much more than any other university. And the support and the spaces they provide, please do take advantage of that. Also, if you reflect on the psychological state or phase that you all are in, so we call it developmental stages, and you are all currently in young adulthood, more or less, and that's where you sort of trying to explore your identity. You're trying to sort of also, it's self-focus internally as well as externally. You're also in the age of possibilities. And this is your place of most potential that you are in terms of your psychologically developmental stage. It's both difficult, but also very rewarding. So I want you to also take note of that. So in that regard, I thought maybe I would share maybe just a few tips. And I think the Q&A is more where we can speak more about our journeys and struggles and how to overcome them. The first is that when you are a UJenius sort of candidate or student, it's an honor and a badge of privilege. So this is something that will go on your CV. It's something that you can speak about when you are one day speaking about sort of your journey. So building networks or connections is not just about collecting context. It's literally about seeing how can I benefit this person and how can they can benefit me. So as you climb, please also extend your hand to the person behind you. So the first years, the second years that you will encounter. I mean, there were a few people who said they were senior students here. So also see how you can then also reach out to others. Again, please prioritize your own mental, emotional, and physical potential. I mean, I gym every day, or I try to at least. I do weights, the deadlifts, all of that. So it's not just about flexing your muscle up here, which you all are really good at. It's also important to make sure that you take care of all of you because you're a whole person and you can't pour from an empty cup. Also, it's not self-indulgence when you sort of want to make sure that you're okay because you have to be okay first before you help others. Also, remember to honor your own legacy. You each are literally building a legacy for yourself and your family. So always honor that and embrace your power that you bring. And also, I want to just say that step into the place of most potential. I think that would be the theme for me if I want to leave you with anything, that anything you do, just always see how does it benefit you, your family, your friends, and those that will come, that have come before you and those that will come after you. So yeah, I want to firstly just, thank you again for allowing me this space. I want to recognize and acknowledge all of your remarkable efforts and achievements, and I do wish you well. So thank you.
Perhaps stay for some questions. Right, yes. Okay. Right, any questions? Any questions? Somebody, I'll bring the mic to you. Oh, there's one going. There's a hand. There's a hand. Unwa there at the table, close.
Please say the name and what we studying so I can get to know you as well.
So, am I audible? Okay. My name is Kopano Malesela. I'm doing my final year in strategic communications as well as film and television studies. So, I wanted to ask about the anxiety that came with you being at or in final year, because I'm currently in final year, and there's those thoughts of saying what's going to happen next year, because I plan on coming for honors, but at the end of the day, you must end up in employment. And looking at what is currently happening in our country, our employment rate is not that stable to absorb young people, even in industries that are in demand. So what advice will you give to any person who's in final year on how to cope with the anxiety and the stress that comes with finishing your degree and also looking at um an economy that is not stable for you to live the dreams that you would like to live?
Okay. Thank you for that. Okay, am I audible now? Yeah. So in psychology, we say there's a phenomenon that happens. It's not just about fear of failure, but also fear of success. And we note this particularly with final year students. Sometimes what happens, it's a bit of self-sabotage where you do something that almost derails the career path that you are on. So in that regard, in order to manage, so anxiety is good. It shows you that because anxiety is about living in the future. You're constantly worried about controlling things that will I be successful? Will I get a job? Will I be able to, be successful, essentially. So I think it's about noting that if these are the things, look at the constant themes that are reflecting in what you are anxious about. And then how can you use that to propel yourself to ensure that you can control and maintain? So control what you can, and the rest of it is to ensure that you have a mentor, someone that can help guide with that. So in that regard, in terms of the economy we're in, I know that's something that we cannot control. So focusing on that is not helpful. So I'm so mindful that in disability studies that the mic helps also for accessibility. So I just want to make sure that the mic is fine. All good, happiness. Yeah, so in that regard, so I want to now speak about PsychEd. So we don't just focus on career development in terms of making you employable, but we also have the entrepreneurship route. And we have a number of events that allow you to, one, explore your own potential and how you can be self-sufficient in that regard, as well as in making you employable. So the graduate sort of criteria and graduate sort of characteristics you need to have, as well as the entrepreneurial sort of aspect in space. And then we help you connect and network with people that you wouldn't have access to at your level as a third year or final year. So for instance, next week we have the STEM and the General Career Fair, and that's literally for someone like yourself in strategic communication. I mean, we have the likes of your Ogilvy's and that come to our career fairs where you literally get to meet those companies, the people who recruit you directly. So it's not just your CV being placed in some sort of, you email it to someone or some sort of platform and hoping someone, accesses your CV. But at the career fairs, you literally get to meet the people who are behind selecting and recruiting you. So I highly encourage all of you to always attend not just the recruitment fairs, but we have what's called company presentations. And that's the CEOs or the people in their own companies, in your big ones, as your medium-sized firms, as well as those that are more entrepreneurial. So I'm hoping that then that helps you to sort of, narrow that gap between this year and what it is that you would like to achieve next year in terms of being in that space or world of work. And I wish you well for your final year. Remember, always see the anxiety as you looking forward to the future, but you can only control what you can control. And then the rest of it, you need to rely on mentors and the other sort of services available to you here to help you narrow that gap.
Another question? Okay,
Yeah.
This day, after that, we're going to thanks so much.
My can you guys hear me?
Should I use this one?
Okay, so what did you hear?
So I'm going to just repeat the question for the people online. So she asked, what are the qualities that a woman should have in a space to be in a leadership role? Sure, that's a heavy question. One, I'm going to say that I want to think a bit about this. I don't want to just answer for the sake of answering. I'm going to try and speak about what the characteristics that are important for me when I deal with people, because I think whether you're in a leadership role, formally or informally, you should always be genuine and authentic. So I think the first is authenticness, because to use the words of a speaker that's going to come after me about being, that people can smell when you're being inauthentic or when you're lying. So when you're authentic, you're then not being performative, because every advice that you give as a leader or any space that you occupy, you being your true self, because it's being performative in that space, people will then suss that out. So if you can just be true to who you are. So if you're someone who's naturally quiet, don't see that as a characteristic of weakness, but that when you speak words of power. So don't try and perform and be this person that's, I'm great, I've done this, I've achieved. Even in the quietness and in the calmness, there's power in that. And you'll find that people will gravitate towards you because of the power of your sort of your presence and what you have to offer. So you don't always have to be performative. So the first I would say is to be authentic. The other skill or trait that I think is important is about agility. So to give an example, when I took up South African Sign Language, for instance, it was because one, I liked the social justice aspect of it. But before that, I had a blank. So at WITS, when I studied, you needed to have a certain number of credits in the same year at UJ. And this was the module that fit within that particular slot because they have A, B, C, D, E on the timetable. So in studying that, I said, how can I use this and leverage it to my advantage? And that's how I got into the space of disability studies and having to then manage a disability unit. So look at sort of what do you have within your resource pool now? And it's about being agile. So agile means you're not stuck and rigid that, oh, I'm studying this degree and I can only do this. But within that, how can you use that and have what's called transferable skills so that you see that, okay, if I have the skill here, where else can it apply and use that to your advantage? And yeah, so those are some of the characteristics I think that I would advise people to have, or women specifically to have.
Thanks. And you had a question?
Good afternoon, Miss. My name is Funedi Masheni. I'm actually like doing my first year in mechanical engineering. So I want to know how can I overcome imperfectionism? Like how can I overcome the fear of being perfect, of which whereby like it just kind of delays me in starting to study my modules, especially someone who hasn't even found my feet in how to study properly for my modules. So like it's more of like it kind of it kind of makes me to be behind, and it's so crazy because of finally when I get to do those more like finally like, when I get to do my work, I get to realize that no way is this so simple. I could have long started basically because of the fear of starting, like just seeing the motion and then you're just thinking about, oh my goodness, I feel like this is kind of crazy, this is gonna be difficult. So how do I overcome that?
Yeah. And thank you for that. I think it's a struggle we all have. Till now, I still have it, even in trying to reply to an email. So if you look, something that we find that's common amongst university students and more specifically top performers is that often in your life you were recognized for doing well academically. Well done, you've passed this, you got these high marks. You always recognize for that, and that teaches you that you are only rewarded for doing good, and then it then links to perfectionism. So in coming to university, everybody here is a top performer because you are the cream of the crop. I mean, only 10% of students get into university worldwide. So everybody here is sort of a good student academically. So if your entire academic personality was only based on being perfect and getting good marks, you now have to find what other characteristics and traits do I have? Because no one can achieve perfectionism, because you'll see that when you reach the level of PhD, it's about, trying to research an area that hasn't been researched before. So how do you achieve a perfectionism in a field that's still being, discovered? So my advice is that you start somewhere, just start, because you will never achieve perfectionism. There is, especially in the field of engineering, it's about finding solutions and innovating. So is there something that would be a perfect response? No. So just recognize that you have the skills, the ability, and the talents to do what needs to be done. And that's where you start. Because if you focus on the end product, so remember what I said with anxiety, you want to control the future. So perfectionism is that I want to get 100% for this assignment or 80%. You can't control the future. So just focus on the here and the now and what you can sort of manage with that. So if it's doing, I don't know engineering principles, but you know the basics, and then just start with that and then just work your way through that. So don't focus on just the mark. It will come because you know you have the ability and the skills for that. Okay, I hope that helps. And I love there's a woman in mechanical engineering. Yeah.
Good afternoon, ma'am, and to the students at large. So my name is Sipenati Vundle, and I'm currently a final year accounting student. The question is, how do you deal with the the loneliness that comes with being a top student? Because as much as we try sometimes to make friends, but you're also afraid of what if they disrupt this process that you are in? You always want to stay logged in. So how do you deal with that situation? That's my question.
I almost want my fellow speaker to answer that if that's okay. I think because someone who has that lived experience would be able to answer best, and then I'll try to co-answer, if that's fine.
All right. Okay, thanks, Rowan. He says he'll answer in his presentation when he does that. Okay. Are there any questions online that have been asked online? No questions. All right, online audience. Okay. Right, thanks, Maria. One last word of advice to end this question.
So I think don't just see it as loneliness. You got to be selfish in the path that you are in. And if something is going to disrupt that, you have a clear goal in mind. And if you feel that there were things that will genuinely distract from that, then just see that you're doing it to benefit for yourself. That if socializing is something that will distract from, the academic journey that you are on, then that's fine. But at the same time, the people that you do socialize with and network, it's about, the thing about being in the space of most potential. If you feel that in socializing, it takes away from your potential, it wouldn't benefit you, then rather see it in that way. So phrase it or frame it in a more positive way rather than loneliness. So it's isolation because that's what's benefiting you in that moment. It's not loneliness. I'm hoping that would assist. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. Ramaahlo. And now over to you, Rowan. Thank you.
Perfect. Just want to confirm if you all can hear me properly, loud and clear. I promise you I'm not going to be long. I also do not want to sit here and be bored by someone on a Friday afternoon because I know that you have plans for tonight. I heard that there's a new competitor in Melville that recently opened. So yeah, I'm also still a student, so I know these things. But thank you so much to this wonderful opportunity. I also want to quote what Doc said about, the journey of getting to this podium. Mine was also definitely not an easy one. It's actually weird looking at myself here on the screen. But anyway, we're there now. So, as I mentioned earlier, I was actually born and bred in Pretoria in a small colored township next to Mamelodi called Easterus. Does anyone know where Easterus is? Anyone? Someone? No one? Oh, Doc knows, yes. So, also grew up in very humbling circumstances, which I think was needed for me to shape me for who I am today. And when I did a module called Dramatic Arts in school, high school, there was a concept called existentialism. And what existentialism means is that us as humans are born in a void, or to put it in layman's terms, in mud. And you have to make that intentional decision to step out of that mud and make something of your life, or you are not going to do that and just stay in there and not develop as a person. I then had to make that intentional decision that, you know what, the circumstances that I grew up in, I'm not going to let that determine where I go in life. Came to Joburg. My parents didn't know nothing about Johannesburg. I didn't know nothing about Johannesburg. All I know is that CBD is dangerous. That's what I knew. Got here, had to find accommodation. It was scary. It was scary. But started at the age of 17, my BCom accounting, finished it with 17 distinctions through a lot of hard work. And then thereafter, I enrolled for my honors in internal auditing. And I actually love the questions that you asked, Doc, because what I'm going to say might also give you a bit of perspective or answer some of the questions that you had. Then I enrolled for my honors in internal auditing, and it was tough. At some point, I was failing. I remember advanced accounting showed me flames. I got 40 for the first test, 42 for the second one, 46 for the exam. And I was like, what is going on here? Because it seems like the more effort I put in, the worse I do. Just doesn't make sense. And I had to make a mind shift change from saying that this is too big of a mountain to climb to saying that, you know what, I've been assigned this mountain to show someone else that it can be moved. And when I made that mind shift change in September that year, which is not long ago, 2023, I did my honors. When I made that mind shift change in 2023, now 2022, yes, I went from failing to passing my honors as the top academic achiever. And thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that. Then in that year, got an offer from the PwC, and I started my journey there. So I started my training at 21, which means that in that year I turned 22. 8 months into my career, at the age of 22, went up against professionals that are 35 years old. Now you can just imagine someone who's 35 years old, have more than a decade of experience. I only had 8 months at that point in time. And then I got awarded the Young Internal Auditor of the Year award from the Institute of Internal Auditors. And fast forward to this year, where I have now also been elected to serve on the IIA Johannesburg Region Committee. And that is also testament to the fact that a lot of people, especially in the finance space, accounting space, you think that you need to be a chartered accountant in order to be successful. No, that's not the case. In actual fact, a lot of you might not know that as an internal audit trainee, I got paid more than what chartered accountants in training get. So that should just be a reality check. I'm not saying change your qualification now. No, that's not what I'm saying. And then this year, at the age of 23, got promoted to senior associate in the governance, risk, and internal audit practice. So to anyone thinking or asking themselves how old am I? I'm 24. I was born in 2001. So you might be thinking, oh, wow, great stuff. But what I just told you speaks to the what I am, doesn't speak to who I am. I am someone who's authentic. I'm someone who seizes every opportunity possible that I can in whatever space that I walk in. What's very important is that as you sit here today, you need to ask yourself why. What is your why? And your why is not even looking at me. Your why could be different from your why. My why just to get my first degree was I needed to get out of poverty. My second degree, my honors degree, I knew that I wanted to do something in something governance related, risk related, controls related. And then I went into internal auditing, and that degree also got me the job at the place that I wanted to be. Now I'm doing my MCOM in computer auditing, and this one is for me. Now I get to say I'm doing something for me, not to get out of a situation or to get me somewhere, but something that I want to invest in for myself. So you need to know those nights when your friends go out and you have an exam that you need to prepare for Monday, you need to ask yourself, what is your why? And remind yourself of your why. I'm going to tell you that I had a friend, former friend, in first year who told me that because when they used to call me and tell me, oh, we're going out here, we're going to Maboneng, it's going to go down and stuff. I studied And she told me that, you know what, whether you pass with a 50%, whether I pass with this is now her saying, whether I pass with a 50%, whether you pass with 80%, we're going to walk the same stage together. And I told her, no, that's true. She passed with the 50%, I passed with distinction. We walked the same stage together. But when we finished our qualification, who got a contract and who did not? Do you understand? So it gets lonely. Even now doing my MCOM, because we have class tomorrow and I need to go back after this and prepare for that class. Whereas I could have gone out, have a cute drink with my friends. I cannot. Oh, well, I can, but I choose not to because also back in school, a teacher told me this one thing and it stayed with me until now. We don't have a lot of choices in life, but you have two choices. One, at which point in your life are you going to work hard? Are you going to work hard now so that you can live a soft life later? Or are you going to chill now and later in your life work hard? That's a choice you have to make. And then the other one I also said is, and also answering your question is, the other choice that you have is who you surround yourself with. Because like the teachers in school used to say, you are your friends, you are who you hang around with. You're not gonna hang around people who smoke weed if you don't smoke weed. Not saying there's anything wrong with smoking weed, but I don't. So you are who you hang around with. This is an excellent opportunity because you are rubbing shoulders with your fellow top academic achievers. So seize this and milk it for what it is worth. So I hope that answers your question also. Then I'm just going to take 5 minutes. Then I'm done. I presented something similar to this last year, and I just quickly want to hear from you. When you look at successful businesses, right, or successful brands, what are, just from two people, what are those things about that brand that stands out for you? Let me ask you.
It's consistency, delivering quality products.
Perfect. Anyone else? Yes? Perfect.
Discipline.
Discipline. Is that all? Okay, perfect. I only asked for 2, I got 3. That's more than enough. So, especially in the field of whatever it is that you're studying, whether it be accounting, strategic management, or chemical engineering or mechanical engineering, sorry, these are fields that demands both meticulous attention to detail and strategic thinking. And I want to quickly make the analogy of a business. And I want you to do a bit of introspection and apply that to yourself. When you look at a business, it must have a vision and a mission. Every successful business starts with a vision and a clear mission. If you consider PwC one of the big 4 accounting firms, our vision is creating leaders, inspiring people, and bringing perspectives together to achieve what matters most. Our mission is to provide an unrivaled level of service and to contribute to the sustained growth of the economy through the execution of vigorous, fair, and high-quality audits based on clear leadership and creative teamwork. What is your vision and your mission? What is your short-term, medium-term, and long-term goals? Again, Prof also mentioned agility. Doesn't have to be, plans change all the time. But if you don't know where you are headed, how are you going to know that you need to stay in your lane? How are you going to know what to say yes to and what to say no to? Because there's going to be a lot of noise along your journey. And you need to know where are you headed so that you are able to discern and make those decisions and be like, you know what, thanks for this opportunity, but this does not align with my vision and where I'm headed. Unique value proposition. You need to think about the fact that when you go to a lecture, you see that lecture hall is packed. You mentioned about the high unemployment rate. It is the reality of it. The youth unemployment rate is at an all-time high. But what is your unique value proposition? What different are you going to bring to the table? You cannot leave here with just a degree and think that that is going to differentiate yourself from your competitors. She mentioned other opportunities, and Doc also mentioned other opportunities within the different departments, within student engagement that you can do to set yourself apart and at least have something on your CV. Consistent branding, someone spoke about consistency. Consistent branding is very important, and because you need to see yourself as a brand. And what brand is it that you are putting out there for people to see? Consistent branding is very important because it is your image. You know, what is on your CV needs to speak to what is on LinkedIn, but also when you go to an interview or networking functions, there needs to be that level of consistency. Innovation and adaptability, it also speaks to unique value proposition. You need to be able to adapt to circumstances, but also think about what am I going to offer that's different from what my competitors are offering. The one that I pride myself in, and Doc also mentioned it, is authenticity. Own lane, own pace. Do not make decisions because you are pressured. I know peer pressure is real. Do not make decisions because you want other people to look at you in a different way or to respect you because you now bought an iPhone by month and you are suffering trying to pay this thing off. Do something that's authentic to you. And that also speaks to your why. Why are you doing this? Then the last one that's also extremely important for me is reputation. Very, very, very important. I don't know how many of you are on social media or on X, on TikTok, but recently there was this open podcast situation and they said very damning stuff, and that almost ended them. Do you understand? Now you've built up this reputation only for you to come and say something such as that. And that is your brand. That is what you put out there. So, and reputation in any industry, especially in the accounting space, auditing space, it can end like this. And to again put it into perspective for you, this week, yesterday, was at home, very relaxed, on my bed, in pajamas, and then I get a WhatsApp from one of the partners at one of the big four accounting firms. So now I'm already confused as to why are you contacting me on WhatsApp? Where did you get my number? But I was like, hey, that's not my concern right now. And the message was, can you quickly chat? I responded very professionally and I said, yes. My phone rings, incoming video call. The way I jumped out of that bed, because I was like, okay, what do I do now? I accepted, took my phone, accepted it, turned it like this, switched off the camera. And then I told the person, can you please give me 10 seconds to get camera ready? Got up, brushed my hair, combed my beard, put on a hoodie, went to the living room, and I put the phone there. And this person explicitly said that they don't have my CV. I haven't gone for an interview, but they are offering me a position. And I should expect a contract within the next hour, which I got. And that speaks to going into this year, I was a bit nervous because my training contract is coming to an end, and you mentioned the unemployment rate. But I also knew that, you know what, I've worked hard, and whatever's meant for me will effortlessly flow into my life and it will find me. And it did. And that goes back to reputation. You want to build a certain reputation and credibility for yourself. So put in the hard work, because one way or another, you will reap the benefits of that. And to conclude, I want to just say, as you continue on your journey of making life your oyster, and based on what I've learned, I just want to quickly share this couple of nuggets with you. Rejection is real. Fear of failure is real. Prepare yourself for that now. I got rejected from UP. I got rejected from WITS when I applied. UJ, I applied just because it was free. And well, look where I got my first 2 degrees and where I'm getting my third one from. The only university that decided to invest in me, and I'm a product of UJ. Remain authentic to yourself. Have a vision of where you see yourself. Stay true to yourself and your work ethic. People can take anything away from you, but your work ethic should be something that no one can take away from you. Be comfortable with the fact that you are not going to know anything. Your inexperience is an asset that will make you think originally, differently, and accept that your lack of knowledge should be used as an asset rather as a liability. Be a sponge. Soak up as much as you can from your fellow UJenius students here. Network, speak to people, get their numbers, go on LinkedIn, send them invites. Stay in your lane. And most importantly, know your why. Then lastly, this is now very, very lastly. I took a screenshot of this thing just before I came here. Now I cannot find it. But anyway, I know what I want to say. Having a 9 to 5 job is hard. Starting a business is hard. Choose your hard. Being obese is hard. Working out and deadlift weight and whatever is hard. Choose your hard. Saying no to your friends if they want to go to Groove on a Friday night or having to study is hard. Choose your hard. Thank you.
Rowan, thank you very much. Oh, how inspiring. Okay, we'll do the official thanks a bit later, but let's just see if there are any questions. Rowan, perhaps you want to have a seat. Okay, right.
Greetings to the audience. My name is Khanyisa Mgambi. I'm an LLB student here at UJ. I wanted to ask you, with so much development at a young age, what is your biggest obstacle that you have faced and how did you overcome it?
Thank you very much. So I think Doc also touched on it a bit. And one thing that overachievers have in common is the fear of failure. And I think that was probably fear of failure. And you also mentioned it, being a perfectionist. I pride myself in high quality work. But what you need to be cognizant of is the fact that FAIL stands for first attempt in learning. In 2023, now you must know, 2022 you passed as the top academic achiever. 2023, I have to write a total of 3 board exams. And I attempted the first one, I failed. I attempted the second one, I failed. Last year, I attempted the second one, I failed. So I've attempted them 3 times, and I failed all 3 of them. Not even, there's a difference between failing and, dismally failing and being like, yeah, no, I didn't know. I failed with 1% the first time, and the second time with 2%. And if you fail, you have to pay for the exam, and you pay in dollars. Just to give you context, the first one was 7,000. Then I had to pay again and I failed again. So now you can think for yourself, what could I have done with that 7,000? But I had to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And I said, okay, let me just take a bit of a break with this thing. And then I enrolled for my master's. And now in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, because I'm also now an overthinker, I'm thinking of the fact that, listen, I failed board exams 3 times. What now makes me think that I'm going to pass my master's well? And again, getting here, I was like, you know what, as long as I pass, it's fine. I don't want to pass with flying colors and whatever. I did what I knew best, and that was to give my best, because your best is enough. And if you still is unsuccessful with that, go back to the drawing board and figure out what the problem is. Did my first 2 modules, first semester, passed both of them with distinction. So it's sometimes also just that mindset and the perspective from which you look at it. Does that answer your question?
Thank you, Rowan. Let's just first check if there's an online question, please. No one, no one. Another question?
Good day, everyone. Hope you are all doing great. I am Isaac Hoven. I'm currently doing accounting science. I'm also signed with PwC for my articles. So I want to know that I'm doing my 2nd year. I want to know that does the academic excellence matter in the firm actually? When you start practicing in real as a CA or as a registered auditor or something like that, does that matter the most when you're there, the academic excellence?
I want to say yes and no. Yes, it does, because when I went for my interview, I was told that it's going to be pointless for us to ask you, are you a hard worker? Because my academic record speaks for itself. And that is something I pride myself in. So work as hard as you can, number 1. Number 2, does that matter in the bigger scheme of things when you do start to work? No, because when you do start to work as an A1 or an associate, you are all on the same level. And academia, or, there's a gap between high school and university. And there's an even bigger gap between university and the workplace, because because curriculum is telling you what you should be doing. Whereas if you go to the workplace, that is what you're now actually doing. And because of that gap, this is where we started, from the PwC perspective, the Work Integrated Learning Assured project. And if I don't see any internal audit students here, or if they are, good. If not, it's fine. That project is to do exactly that, to bridge that gap, to give you a more practical experience as to what you can expect in the workplace. And I think that, on any qualification, if they can do something like that, that would be excellent, because you have a good understanding. So to answer your question, you again need to you need to make peace with the fact that you are going to not know anything. And the sooner you make peace with that, the better. Your academic work and all of that you do will always speak for itself in a different space or in a different conversation that you might be having with someone. Does it make sense?
Thank you, Rowan. It's fine. Sure.
So, hi.
when we deal with a lot of, like at UJ, we're lucky enough with PsychEd, we deal with a lot of top companies. And most of them will come and say that we know that graduates are excellent, but they struggle with the people skills or basic things like sending an email, like email etiquette, don't put the entire email in the subject. Like those basic soft skills and people skills are just as important as your academic excellence. You get people who interview very well, they have very good CVs and academic results, but their people skills are lacking. So equally, you have to flex and build that muscle about soft skills. That's equally important to the companies when they recruit.
Yeah, no, I fully agree with Doc on that, in the sense that you shouldn't look at it in a silo. When I spoke about your brand now, there are a lot of layers to it, the vision and the mission, the adaptability, the authenticity, and all of that. And you find that there are top achieving students who cannot even have a conversation, whereas someone who didn't pass that well, very smooth with the tongue, and they can convince an Eskimo to buy ice. So that is why you need to already start investing in that now, and they have this type of conversations like Doc has said. Any other question? I see they and they.
Good afternoon. My name is Tamamba. I'm doing BA in linguistics. I'm planning to work and start to further my studies in the future. So I want to ask how is it working and study at the same time, and how do you juggle both of them? And how is it mentally? How are you mentally coping with studying and working at the same time? Especially as a perfectionist. Yeah.
I feel like you're describing me. Thank you for that question. So when I did my honors, I actually worked at Gauteng Department of Education as a quality assurer, working with the matric papers. I'm sure some of you have done that. And when we started honors, we were told not to work because it is a full-time qualification. On top of that, I tutored, and I was also a senior tutor, and I also marked as an academic marker. So I had the Gauteng job, I had two other tutor jobs, and a senior tutor job, and a marking job while I'm studying, when we were cautioned not to do it. Now, senior associate, Toastmasters president, sit on the IIA regional board, and I'm also an MCOM student, right? So what's very important, and the skill or the qualities that you need to learn very quickly, is that of time management. Crucial, crucial, but also prioritizing. Because if you're gonna say yes to something, you are saying no to something else. So what is more important? I need to prepare for tomorrow's class. I need to do a timesheet because that is important for work. If I don't do it, I'm going to get a non-compliance. I have swimming lessons tomorrow, and I also need to attend class tomorrow. So now you see that I need to call my parents and check up on them. So do you see that there's 5 things that I need to do? I now need to start with what is really important, what can wait, and I'm also getting a call at this very moment. But what is important is me answering your question, so I'm prioritizing you. Time management, very important, planning, but also communication. Effective and honest communication, very important. Because if I cannot, like I'm supposed to be working now, my working hours end at 4:30, but I had to be here at 2. I had to communicate to my employer and say, listen, I have this very important event that I need to attend. Can I please do that? And rather work back the hours tonight. Do you understand? So, and Doc also mentioned it, being agile. Your schedule sometimes will change. Things happen. My car decided not to open yesterday, and when the dealership came, it suddenly opened. Funny stuff will happen, but it is also how you think on your feet. Does that answer your question? Perfect. And then there was one more question that said yes.
Oh, you mentioned something about making peace with not knowing anything. So I want to know, how do you make peace with not knowing anything, whereby you're actually like coming into a new space and obviously you want to outdo yourself. So how do you just make peace with that?
Hey, my sister, you are not God. You are not God and you are not perfect. As I said, in my third year as a senior associate, and the audit I've been busy with for the past 2 weeks, I don't know what's happening there, right? But it is, especially when you now have an issue, maybe as a senior, and you speak to the team, and the solution comes from someone that's junior to you. Now you might feel, or you might overthink and say, oh, wow, I didn't have the answer to this question, and now this person. It's not about that. And I think people respect you more when you are able to say, I don't know the answer to that question. Give me a second, let me go do my own research or ask from my fellow peers on what the answer to this question is, instead of answering about something that you don't know. You are not going to know everything. And that's, you don't know sign language now, right? Doc knows sign language. The best that you can do is say, you know what, I can try and I can do my best. And my best is just that. More than that, I cannot do. Do your best and God will do the rest. I hope that answers your question. Yeah, just be comfortable with not knowing everything. Really, like, we are not perfect. We are not meant to know everything. And you will learn as you go through your journey in life that perfectionist tendencies, sometimes it's fine. You know, you always want your apartment to look perfect and smell of rose petals and stuff. Someone comes unannounced and you didn't have the time to do the dishes. It's fine. If you see the dishes not being done, it's fine. Make peace with it, move on. There are bigger fish to fry out there.
Thank you, Rowan. Is there a last question? Right, and can you just check online that we don't miss that audience? Okay, right. So, Rowan, thank you very, very much. Thanks so much. I'm now going to hand over to Monwa, who's running around organizing everything. So thanks to you, Monwa. But over to Monwa to do the thanks to our speakers and then also to arrange the networking session. He planned something interesting for you. Okay, thank you, Monwa.
Right, just my job is very simple. It's just to thank you all for being here. Thank you for, most importantly, our speakers. So Dr. Maria Ramaahlo, really appreciate your inspiring talk. I think each and every one of us has taken something out of her, her talk with us. And to Mr. Rowan Haai, who obviously traveled very far from Midrand to come here. We really appreciate you as well for agreeing to be here with us and talking to our top students, especially with your journey. Very inspiring. And I think, as a UJ student, I think that's what we really appreciate, that we still have access to you beyond this session. So really appreciate your time today. And very importantly, Bronte as well. I'd be nothing without her. She's my manager. She supports all of my crazy ideas in getting events for our top students. So really appreciate your support. And to the library, Sipugazi and team, really appreciate Sam, I see you here. I really appreciate, and obviously to the director here at the library for marketing and events, Ms. Orina De Brain, Mama Tiu, for really hosting us as the UJenius Club for our top students. We really appreciate your ongoing support with this series. So we're really hoping to have the series grow and become bigger and better. So we hope to see more of you coming to these sessions. I'm looking especially to our online audience who will not benefit from the networking session, I guess, that we'll have in a moment. And also to those who will watch the recording, because we'll make this available for those who might not have had the time to be with us. Just to encourage you to also be in this venue, because I think that's ultimately the benefit as well. Because I think, as you would have heard from the speakers, there's value in rubbing shoulders with other like-minded students like yourself. So we've arranged a networking activity that I will speak to just now. But before that, I would like our speakers to please come on stage. We have just a small token of our appreciation to share with you. So Dr. Maria Ramaahlo, please come on stage, please, for the gift with Francie.
Thank you very, very much for your time. Thank you for this.
Can I just take a picture?
And Rose, thank you for your time. Right, so one picture. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Sorry. All right. So as you would have noticed to our students who are in the venue, we have shared with you small slips where we have asked you to write your name and your surname and a bit about yourself. So in the spirit of getting you to network, we will ask you to then grab a slip. So obviously you'll grab it at random. The idea is that when you grab that slip, you try and find the person who has written out that slip. Right? Okay. So remember, the invitation was sent out to all our students. We have over 3,500 students in the UJenius Club, which is a testament to how we're attracting top students at UJ. So we really appreciate those of you who have made the time to attend. So obviously it's across all the faculties and the college. So the idea is that you get to at least interact with someone who might not even be from your faculty, because as you'll realize in the world of work, and also speaking to some of the questions, is that there's a lot of synergies in companies, right? So just because you might be specializing in accounting doesn't mean that, you know, someone who might be in graphics, as an example, or law might not be your colleague, because you'll realize in the working world, you work with very different people, especially if you become a manager, as Dr. Maria has talked to us. And when you speak about the skill of managing people, you need to understand different walks of life. So in the spirit of networking, we'll have the box where you'll grab your slip. So once you found so the idea, okay, so once you've grabbed the slip, once you've found the person who has written that slip, please then help yourselves to the refreshments. So we've also arranged refreshments for you. There's tea and coffee and a soda as well. So you're welcome to help yourself for refreshments. And just because we started a bit late, we have an extra 30 minutes. I've asked, well, we've confirmed from the library team that we have an additional 30 minutes to make up for that. And to our speakers, thank you so much for joining us. I do know you're very busy. You have to get off and, to your next commitments. So just thank you again for making the time. Really appreciate it. Thank you. Need the music, please. Grab the slip. So here's the we network for about 30 minutes and then